Marcus Chen stood in the marble hallway of Westridge Academy at 5:47 a.m., his mop bucket beside him, watching as ambulance lights painted red and blue streaks across the pristine white walls. Inside the headmaster's office, 17-year-old Sophia Blackwell sat trembling, her designer clothes torn, her knuckles bleeding, surrounded by shattered glass and overturned furniture. It was the fourth incident in 3 months. Every therapist had quit. Every private tutor had walked away. Every exclusive boarding school had expelled her. The daughter of tech billionaire Richard Blackwell was labeled impossible, broken, untouchable. But Marcus, the overnight janitor with calloused hands and a gentle soul, saw something no one else did. He saw his own daughter in her eyes. If you believe that broken people aren't beyond saving, that kindness can reach places money never could, then stay with us. Hit that like button, drop a comment below telling us about a time someone showed you unexpected compassion, and subscribe to this channel for more stories that remind us why humanity is worth fighting for. Because what happens next will prove that sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest love. And Richard Blackwell didn't notice Marcus at first. Men like Richard never noticed the janitors, the custodians, the invisible workforce that kept their empires gleaming. He was too busy pacing the headmaster's office, his phone pressed to his ear, his voice tight with desperation that money couldn't fix. Sophia sat in the corner, her arms wrapped around her knees, rocking slightly. Her dark hair fell across her face like a curtain she could hide behind. The paramedics had cleared her physically, but everyone in that room knew the real wounds were buried deeper than any scan could reach. Marcus had been cleaning Westridge Academy for 3 years. He took the night shift because it paid slightly more, and every extra dollar mattered when you were raising a 10-year-old daughter alone. His wife had died when Emma was only 4, a sudden aneurysm that turned his world inside out in the space of a heartbeat. He understood what it meant to feel like the ground had disappeared beneath your feet. He understood what it meant to be so consumed by grief and anger that you wanted to tear the world apart just to make it match the chaos inside you. As he cleaned the broken glass from the floor, moving quietly around the edges of the drama, Marcus heard fragments of the conversation. The headmaster's patience had finally shattered along with his office furniture. Sophia was being expelled, effective immediately. Richard's voice cracked as he pleaded, not with the authority of a man worth $8 billion, but with the helplessness of a father watching his child drown and not knowing how to save her. Every treatment center had failed. Every intervention had backfired. Sophia had been getting worse, not better, since her mother's death 18 months ago. Marcus understood that too. Grief wasn't a straight line. It was a spiral that pulled you down into darkness, and sometimes the people who loved you most couldn't follow you there because their own pain was too loud. He finished sweeping and was about to leave when Sophia's voice cut through the room, small and raw. "Why do you always come back?" She wasn't talking to her father or the headmaster. She was looking directly at Marcus. "Every time I destroy something, you're here the next night, putting it back together. Why?" The room fell silent. Richard turned, seeing Marcus fully for the first time. The headmaster looked uncomfortable, as if a piece of furniture had suddenly spoken. But Marcus met Sophia's eyes, those dark pools filled with pain and challenge, daring him to say something meaningless and walk away like everyone else. "Because broken things deserve to be fixed," Marcus said quietly, "and broken people deserve to be seen." Something flickered across Sophia's face. Not hope, not yet, but recognition. Like she'd been shouting into a void for 18 months and someone had finally shouted back. What happened next was unprecedented. Richard Blackwell, a man who solved problems by throwing money at them, did something different. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was the way his daughter had looked at the janitor, really looked at another human being. For the first time in months, he offered Marcus a job, not as a janitor, but as Sophia's companion, her mentor, her friend. Someone to just be present in her life without an agenda, without a clinical diagnosis, without a billionaire's expectations weighing down every interaction. Marcus should have said no. He had his own daughter to think about, his own bills to pay, his own grief that he carefully packaged into a box so he could function. But he looked at Sophia and saw Emma on the worst nights, when his daughter woke up crying for a mother who would never come home. He remembered how the simplest acts of presence, of just sitting with her in the darkness without trying to fix it, had meant everything. "I'll try," Marcus said, "but I can't promise miracles. I can only promise I'll show up." The arrangement was unusual, perhaps even strange. Marcus would come to the Blackwell estate after dropping Emma at school, spend the day with Sophia, then return home in the evening. Richard offered an astronomical salary. Marcus negotiated it down to something reasonable, plus health insurance for Emma and a college fund. He didn't want Sophia to feel like she was a job. He wanted to show up as a human being, not an employee. The first week was brutal. Sophia tested him relentlessly. She destroyed things. She screamed. She said cruel things designed to make him leave like everyone else. Marcus cleaned up the messes without comment. He didn't lecture. He didn't psychoanalyze. He didn't try to fix her. He just stayed. On day 8, Sophia asked why he wasn't married. Marcus told her about his wife, about the morning she'd kissed him goodbye and collapsed at work 3 hours later, about how grief had turned him inside out. He told her about Emma, about the nights when his daughter's sadness felt like an ocean he couldn't cross. He didn't offer it as a comparison or a lesson. He offered it as the truth, one broken person to another. Sophia didn't respond, but the next day, she destroyed fewer things. Marcus started bringing Emma with him sometimes on weekends. He'd worried it might be awkward, forcing connection where none existed. But children have a way of cutting through complexity. Emma, wise beyond her 10 years, simply treated Sophia like an older sister. She'd chatter about school, about her friends, about the things that mattered in her small world. Sophia listened, and slowly, incrementally, she started participating. She taught Emma to code. She helped with homework. She smiled, cautiously at first, then more freely. Richard watched from a distance, afraid to hope, afraid that getting too close would shatter whatever fragile magic was happening. But he saw his daughter emerging from the darkness, saw her eating meals again, sleeping through the night, talking about future plans instead of just surviving the present moment. The transformation wasn't linear. There were bad days, terrible days when Sophia regressed into anger and despair. But Marcus had learned from his own grief that healing wasn't about eliminating the bad days. It was about learning to survive them without destroying yourself in the process. He taught Sophia what his own therapist had taught him after his wife died. That grief was love with nowhere to go, and the key wasn't to stop loving, but to find new places to pour that love. 6 months later, Sophia enrolled in an online school program. She started therapy again, but this time with a counselor Marcus had found, someone who specialized in grief rather than behavioral problems. She volunteered at a community center teaching coding to underprivileged kids. She started talking about college, about a future that extended beyond the walls of her pain. One evening, as Marcus was preparing to leave, Sophia stopped him at the door. "You know what's different about you?" she asked. "Everyone else tried to fix me. You just helped me fix myself." Marcus smiled, his eyes bright. "You were never broken, Sophia. You were grieving. There's a difference." Richard approached them, his own eyes wet. He'd spent 18 months throwing money at the problem, hiring experts, seeking solutions in everything except the simplest human connection. "I don't know how to thank you," he said to Marcus. "Love her," Marcus replied. "Not the version of her you want her to be. Love the version that exists right now, in this moment, with all her scars and all her struggles. That's all any of us really need." If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that healing isn't about expensive solutions but about human connection, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that they're not beyond saving. Drop a comment below, telling us, who was the unexpected person who helped you through your darkest time? Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And years later, at Sophia's college graduation, she gave a speech about second chances and unlikely heroes. She talked about a janitor who saw her when she was invisible to everyone else, who showed up every day without judgment, who taught her that being broken wasn't permanent. Marcus sat in the audience with Emma, now a teenager herself, and Richard beside them. They'd become an unconventional family, bound not by blood but by the shared understanding that love shows up in unexpected places. Before we end, drop a comment and tell us, do you believe that sometimes the people society overlooks are exactly the ones who can save us? We want to hear your thoughts. Sophia approached Marcus after the ceremony, her diploma in hand, her smile genuine and bright. You told me once that broken things deserve to be fixed, she said, but you taught me something better. You taught me that broken things can fix themselves if someone just believes they're worth the effort. Marcus hugged her, this girl who'd been labeled impossible, who'd been written off by everyone who was supposed to help. You did all the hard work, he said. I just showed up. That's everything, Sophia whispered. Showing up is everything. And in that moment, in the space between heartbreak and healing, they both understood the impossible truth that salvation often comes not from the people we expect, but from the quiet heroes who see us in our darkest moments and choose to stay. That sometimes a single dad janitor with calloused hands and a grieving heart can do what all the money and expertise in the world cannot. He can simply be present. He can simply love. And sometimes that's the only miracle anyone ever needs.